Welcome to Full Throttle Talk, the podcast where horsepower meets conversation. From supercars to classic legends, high revving tech to motorsport mayhem, we cover it all. Straight from the driver's seat, whether you're a gearhead or racer or just love the thrill of the open road, you're in the right place. Buckle up, hit the gas, and let's go full throttle into today's episode. Welcome back. This is Tim Harris. I'm here with my friend Dave, Casey, and Paul, and we have a absolutely phenomenal Full Throttle Talk podcast ready for you to go. We've been working all of this for the better part of a week. We've updated our spreadsheet. We've got a lot of great stories and frankly, a lot of fun things to share with all of you. And these guys decided that they wanted to start out today's show by a new segment called What Watch Are You Wearing? Which wasn't my idea. But Dave, you go first. What watch are you wearing?
I am wearing let's see if I can get this on. This is a Seiko mod in a turtle case. It's called a skeleton watch because it doesn't have a face. Friend of mine, Matt Green, did this mod for me. So it's got the orange outer and a blue set of hands here, but you can see all the dates on the inside of it. It's really kind of cool watch, and I just thought it looked cool. Not terribly expensive, but a wind watch with the Seiko movement. So that's me for today.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Casey?
Because I know that Paul and Jay Ryan have been putting up a lot of content together regarding Paul's recovery, I decided today was a good day to wear my Sheffield Crooked Speed Yellow watch. That all the proceeds went towards multiple sclerosis a while ago. So always loved it. Every time I drive a Speed Yellow car, I always think of this watch.
Wow, Casey is really going to show all of us up. Go ahead, Paul. Good luck.
No, thank you, Casey. And as for his wife, Nicole, passed away almost exactly a year ago. So long story, but short. This is a Weiss watch. My friend, I always remember his wife's name, Whitney. They used to be in Los Angeles, handmade watches. He now is in Tennessee. I don't know if you could see
Cameron.
Cameron Weiss, yes. And it's a pink watch. I had a gift certificate I found had been sitting in my drawer for 2 years from my wife for $500, which $500 won't buy you anything there but a bunch of straps. And so I just vowed that the next watch that popped up that was a new limited edition, regardless of whether I wanted it or not, I would buy it. And it was titanium, a kind of a smaller watch, and it was pink, kind of a coral color. And I have worn this every day through the whole cancer treatment. So it was my cancer watch.
Do you guys buy? So I'm wearing a vintage Rolex Daytona, of course. Would you guys?
So Ferrari.
I know, dude. I know. I know you're in a salty old mood today. I can tell. But do you guys buy watches to celebrate like events or milestones or just, yeah. So, I mean, and do you try to like how brand focused or conscientious are you, or you just buy what you like?
I'm the most spastic buyer. I have over 60 watches. Unlike
Wow.
cars, and one day I'll show you the watch case. My dad's a woodmaker and made the most beautiful watch case. I'll send some pictures to you, Tim. And it's funny, when we started it 10 years ago, we thought like 50 spots would be enough, and I've overfilled it. But if I see something I like, I start nerding out and doing a deep dive on it, which means I'm ultimately going to end up with one. I would say 90% of my watches are vintage watches. And if they're new watches, they're like this Weiss watch. They're kind of weird. They're a little different. And yeah, they'll be to celebrate something. I mean, I'm at the point now that it has to be something really unique. I don't think I have a watch. I don't think I've spent, some of them gone up in value, but I don't think I've ever spent more than $3,000 on a watch. Some of them are worth more, but I'm just not into fancy watches. I mean, to give you an example, the Rolex I have two Rolexes. One is a 80s, just a date adjust I got in the 90s, used at like a watch store to celebrate, I don't know, marriage, I think, the first marriage. And then the next watch is a 1920 Rolex, which is just a funky old watch. You know, this is when Rolex was a military watch for World War One military. It was like 1918 or whatever it was. So that's the kind of like Rolex. Or if I had to pick anything, I really like Omegas. I end up gravitating to Omegas a lot. But yeah, that's my watch story.
Same. Yeah, I'm with you on your selections as well. Casey, what about you? Do you select watches for milestones or just because?
I've only bought two watches ever. The rest of them I've received as gifts. The one that I'm wearing, I bought, and I bought my favorite watch. My favorite watch is a Rolex Milgauss.
Mm.
And a bunch of years ago, I had a Seiko made to look just like a Milgauss, kind of. But I did but Milgausses are a little boring. It's got a green crystal, which I really liked. It's got the lightning bolt second hand, but it's got a cut meteorite dial. And it's pretty rad. And that is the only watch that I have that's basically rated for any sort of water. So that's anytime I go on vacation, if I'm diving or snorkeling or anything like that, that's the one I take. And then if I go out someplace nice, the only other interesting watch that I have is a Speedmaster. Pretty modern
What
one.
watches?
It's a Hesalite one because I think if you own a Speedmaster, it has to be a Hesalite one.
Yeah, definitely. So question for you. You said you've only bought two watches and the rest were given to you. So maybe a better question for you, since you used to work at the Porsche dealership. How many buyers did you force to buy one in order for a Porsche watch in order for them to get their allocation? Come on, that was
Um,
funny.
Loaded question.
so I
Loaded
think
question.
I think only two.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
not, and all of my clients I treated very properly in terms of pricing. So, and it was kind of Porsche urged us to consider pairing watches with cars, and for what the wholesale price on one of those watches is immensely less than traditional dealer markup. So it was a win-win for everybody, I believe.
How's that work? So since you mentioned wholesale and retail, I'm just curious now.
We give them whatever we had to buy the watch for. I mean, it
Oh,
wasn't a
that's cool.
profit center for us. It was basically a checkbox that we had to make. I mean, dealers were graded on how many watches they sold. I have no idea if that's still the case or not, but I don't know.
So
Were
It's
the internal guts of those Swiss, those Porsche, the Porsche
yeah,
watches?
they're really, I mean,
they're nice watches.
I owned one. It was a great
Okay.
watch.
Well, that
I
was my next
just
question. Just really quick. Of us four, do we all have a Porsche watch and we all have a Speedmaster? I
I don't
have.
have either.
You don't
I
have
have
a
a
Speedmaster?
Speedmaster.
No.
I have a Speedmaster.
You're a Porsche guy, of course, Dave. Casey has
Oh,
one. I have one. Oh, the Ferrari guy does not have a Speedmaster.
Okay, we've moved from picking on Dave to Tim. That's fine. I can take it. But what you
that
guys
works
should be
for me though,
thinking of
Tim.
this,
That's really
what you
good.
should
I'm
be
happy
thinking,
about this.
what you should be thinking of it instead is that you now know what to get me for Christmas.
you're one of those
Hey,
Seiko ones.
yeah, Seiko. I was about to say we're
But
gonna get him a fake Seiko Speedmaster
no,
looking
what's
one.
the Omega Swatch one? Actually, I'd like one of
Oh
those.
yeah,
I
Ooh,
could
yeah.
deal
Oh,
with
those are
that.
yeah,
cool.
I've got some of those. Those are
I do
great.
like those. I just refuse to go to a store to buy it. I'm waiting till you can just buy them online, and you cannot. You have to go into a store, which I'm not gonna do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's get back to talking about cars. But there definitely
Yes.
it seems to be an affinity. What are the other commonalities amongst, say, Porsche nerds? What other things do pretty much all of them like? I mean,
Bourbon,
watches. What else?
bourbon,
Architecture, I would say.
Yeah, bourbon.
yeah, cigars.
So yeah, I don't really do either of those, but
No.
architecture.
I like the
Uh,
bourbon.
Yeah.
you know what Ferrari guys are into,
Oh
Casey
boy.
and Dave?
What?
Shoes,
Oh,
matching
that's true.
shoes.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my God. All right,
I
Paul.
actually have Ferrari stories this week. I cannot wait to share. And I don't even know, I wore my
I'm
On
sorry,
shoes when
Tim.
I
I
drove it.
I love you. It's just for whatever reason there seems to be a target floating around.
Oh, bring it. Makes the show more fun. All right. So I'm going to get back to our agenda. So obviously we're going to try to stick somewhat to our outline. We usually do it about halfway through. So the first question is, what did you do in cars this week? I'll start with Dave.
All right. So behind me, if you can see, and forgive me, I think my connection's a little lagging here, but this is my personal rally car. This is a 1980 SC. She is affectionately known as Black Betty. And we have been at Sunderworks working on an electric AC system. I think I might have mentioned this before, but we basically pull out the main blower underneath the cowl and install a new evaporator with a high-powered blower. And so we've been refitting this new system that we're developing. It'll come to market here, and we're looking for some, installers. It's not really a great self-install product, so you really need to partner or somebody, a mechanical tech, someone like that who can do this installation. But if I kind of get out of the way here a little bit, you can see the electric compressor that's there in the smuggler's box, and then above is the new blower. And that takes place of the fresh air fan that's normally in the car, and it kind of gets rid of both the fresh air fan and the evaporator blower that's separate for the AC, kind of combines those into one thing. And then we put some condensers in under the fenders, and you get much better performance on electric AC without taxing horsepower on the car because it's not driven by the belt. You do have to put in a 175 amp alternator, but yeah, that's what we did this week, and we're working on installing it here in Black Betty so that I can take it on the rally, drive to Lufka all that great stuff within the comforts of fine air conditioning.
Well,
Even though here
so
in the fall we probably won't need it.
the main competitor for this thing is a company in England that makes a air conditioning system that I've been told if you wanted to have it installed, and I was told this by Rod Emery, it's $25,000. So do you have a sense of what your system's going to cost to be
Oh,
installed?
absolutely. Yeah. And the system, certainly for rod and smaller motors and so on like that, I'm not even sure what you'd have to do to get it in a 356, although we have installed a system in a 912, same idea. Yeah. But that system typically runs around 10,000 to $11,000 from the guy in the UK. That's pre-tariff, so I'm not sure what's going to happen in tariff land. It's one of the reasons that we've been working on this because we're doing it here in the States, and ultimately the equipment will be about $5,000 for the full system, which is about $2,500 less than the other product that's out there on the market. And then you're probably going to look at 3,000 bucks to install it from most places. It's about a 30-hour installation, start to finish. And that's the same with
Wow.
the other guy's system too. But we'll be a couple $1,000s under that system for sure.
Well, so you're
And
telling
so
me
keep an eye on
and
that.
so Dave, you're a little bit laggard on your internet connection, just so you know. But all in, you're saying installed an AC system is going to cost how much? Around, give or take 500 bucks.
$8,000 to $9,000.
Okay, that's the bottom line. And you think you're going to be ready to start installing these in customers' cars when?
Oh, we've already been installing them in customer cars. So you're
Okay.
obviously getting one, Tim, in your car as well. So yes,
Oh,
we're
is
installing
that
them now.
am I getting the full throttle talk discount?
Of course you will be.
Yeah, in other words, it's going to cost 12,000
For you.
for me, right?
But they'll throw in a Porsche watch for you or a speed lamp.
Oh boy, here we go. All right, Paul is definitely feeling saucy today. All right, cool. So, Case, by the way, all the contact information for all these guys is down below in the show descriptions. You just go down there, and the cool thing when you're dealing with Thunderworks is you're dealing with Dave. He's got a huge business, but when you call in, it's his voicemail on the phone, his voice on the phone tree, and you click two, and you're going to be talking to him. So he's not hiding behind a bunch of staff, which is always awesome. So, Casey, what did you do in cars this week?
So I missed last week's podcast. Sorry about that, gentlemen. But 2 weeks ago, I was in Seattle, had an awesome time, rented a Volkswagen Taos. I think that's how you pronounce it. They're a small SUV. It's smaller than a Tiguan. Pretty great. Didn't see a lot of Porsches in Seattle. I think I saw maybe five total. I only saw two 911s, a graphite blue like 2017 C2 Coupe, and an Aero Kit 996 Turbo in some sort of seal gray, which was pretty rad. Buddy of mine, let me borrow his 550, Porsche 5, or sorry, that would have been awesome. No, Ferrari 550, which was a great drive. We'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about news, but I've never driven a front engine gated manual transmission Ferrari. Certainly interesting. Really, really stiff clutch pedal, kind of like a really early Diablo or late Countach, if anybody's driven one of those. But really interesting car, tremendous engine noise, tremendous torque. We talked a couple of weeks ago about this 996 that I've been getting ready for Bring a Trailer. All of the photography was done this past week. I got about 25 miles on the car. Runs great. Photography turned out great. Did a whole bunch of videos. So all that's been submitted and I'm going back and forth with them. Last night, TPC Racing was having a special event that was kind of put on by the Porsche Club of America and met Alwin Springer. really great interview talking about the 50 years of Andile and some of my favorite cars that they've built, including the Swap Shop 935. And what else? I sold those new old stock 997 bucket seats, which I believe went for a record price. I will not share what they went for, but they went for a price that worked out for everybody. And yeah, it was pretty awesome to take them out of the box. You'll see a little video popping up on my Instagram here soon.
What's the point of not sharing the price? What difference does it make? Especially if it was a high price.
Because I don't know, just don't want to share it.
Was it
I'm
was
not
it on
thinking.
it wasn't public, right? It was a
No,
private.
it was a private. I'm listing a set privately, or sorry, I'm listing a set on Bring a Trailer that I did photography work on yesterday. But it was about, if you look on Bring a Trailer, it went for about the highest price or a little bit more than they went on there.
And Tim, to protect Casey on this, I understand. Like, if you watch my ads, majority of my cars sell before going on a broader platform like an eBay, whatever, and I hide the VINs and everything because people always ask me like, "Hey, I see you sold this car 4 years ago. What's the price?" Completely irrelevant.
Right.
Market's different. I don't know
But
what the
these are
car is.
seats. But these were
I
seats.
know,
I agree with
I
you on a
know.
car with the VIN number,
But you can
100%.
still go. But you can still go to Bring a Trailer, and you kind of look at the range. It's one of the reasons I'm very hesitant about using Bring a Trailer because it's just this legacy price, which does become an anchor in the future. I have an issue with that. And sure enough, if you look at it, I would say on average, cars that have sold previously, even if it was at a different market, I would say are anchored a little bit and tethered by that previous price. And it's just human nature. No one wants to be duped, even though the market would support it. So. I appreciate the prices are on there for Bring a Trailer. Bring a Trailer to me is one of the most useful tools as a car dealer. But there's some negative parts to it. Anyway, that was
From a
protecting
marketing
it.
perspective, here's the thing. Just to say why I asked, it's because if you set a world record in selling something, and the buyer it's going to be anonymous who the buyer is because there's no VIN number for it. Chances are there's other people that have those things sitting in their attic someplace in the world. And if they know Casey Parkin can set a world record for selling, obscure seats in a box, you're going to get more, potential, I would say, lots that way. That was my reasoning of
True.
asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not wrong, not wrong.
I was just trying to help the
30,
brother out.
30,
That's all.
$30,000, Tim.
There you go.
We
Yeah.
wore him
Well,
down. We wore him down. He came up
That
with
is
the price.
outstanding.
yeah, but you know what? That doesn't surprise me at all because what are the freaking? I mean, they're awesome. Yeah, I mean, he showed them on.
There's never been a set sold publicly that were literally in the box.
Yeah,
And also here's the thing is when you're on Bring a Trailer, it's a little bit of Russian roulette for the most part. There's always that little bit of like, what am I going to get? But if you're doing private party and you're doing a transaction with someone like Casey, you already know him, you've done business deals.
totally.
It's just, and those kind of clients will pay a premium to take the guesswork out, to
Totally.
have the chance of opening a box and going, what the hell?
Well, it's
Yes.
always worth you pay. Yeah, Casey. Out of curiosity, you know what the buyer's doing with the seats?
I don't know.
Yeah, so that
He's going to make a gaming console out of them.
probably.
No, the other set that I photographed yesterday, it's too long of a story to tell you here, but long and short of it is they were in a Cayman R that I sold brand new in 2011 to replace the seats that went to another Cayman R that I also sold brand new in 2011. So the story's good, but if you look at the photography on the seats online, like I'm an over disclose kind of guy because I've looked and received so many cars from Bring a Trailer that were not disclosed correctly. So I made a video showing condition. I didn't see a single video on any Bring a Trailer listing showing the condition of the seats, only photographs showing black carbon fiber, which is incredibly hard to show issues with.
Did
So
you run the DME on it and do a bore score
I
test
did.
on
I
it?
well, I did. I did a paint.
Good.
I did paint depth on
Oh,
all of
good.
it.
Good.
Yeah, to make sure they were good. And I also got an electric air conditioning system for $8,000.
Sweet.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Did
I'm
you throw in a
stoked on
watch?
that, Dave. That's a great idea.
Yeah, totally.
That's
Well, hey,
huge.
I think it's
Paul,
going to be great. So yeah, follow
what'd
up.
you do in what'd you do in cars this week?
I didn't do a lot. I got out of the hospital, which was a big deal, and I got to go on the 405 freeway, which never normally is shitty, but was so sweet. But my friend Jay Ryan did something really interesting, and him and I had a lot of deep conversations about it. You can find Jay on Instagram, Porsche Life 111. And as Casey mentioned before, huge, huge, huge part of my recovery. So, and I met these guys before, right around the Luft at whatchamacallit, Universal Studios. The name of their company, excuse me if I produce it or pronounce it wrong, Rule Sportwagen Bau. They're a German company. And what they are doing is taking 997.2s and they are backdating them. And they are US legal. You start with a US legal car and it would pass emissions supposedly, etc. So if it wasn't for my friend Jay actually getting to test drive one, if you go to his Instagram, Porsche Life 111, he has a good review of them. He went with Byron Bowers, well-known comedian, and they fell in love with the car. They said it drove great. Now, I posted a little thing. This seems to me, and in case you'll probably agree, sacrilegious because they're taking 997. They are shortening the wheelbase to a 3 inches to an air-cooled car, which makes it handle different and handle like
How?
an air-cooled. If you go if you go to their website, they don't get deep into it, but they show, and we did a bunch of measurements online, just checking like the sizes. My argument was, why not do a 996? There's plenty of them. And their argument was, well, the 997.2 has a better engine. But if you read through their stuff, they're rebuilding the engine to a up to a 4.1. I mean, I can almost understand if you didn't want the engine rebuild, but these are $400,000 cars and they're rebuilding the engine anyway. The 996 and 997.2, same chassis, same dimensions. So they're cutting it up. That was my biggest thing. This was a prototype. I couldn't find any good interior pictures. I was frustrated because I think everyone thinks they're a designer, and the reality is they're not. And when I looked at this interior, there was two big misses in my opinion. You can't really see it. The dash has the old school mid 70s vents, which are stupid. Just go put real vents in. They used this, they left the whole 997.2 center console in, which is not interesting. Take that out if you're going to backdate. And they had the stock 997 base seats in there. They just put inserts. But the worst part is they went through all this length to put the Sport Chrono back in, which is one of the ugliest things of the 997. I mean, if you notice it, Porsche won't admit that the Sport Chrono is ugly. So what they've done is over the years, they've shallowed it, shaved it, shallowed it, made it smaller, smaller till it's almost disappearing. It's sort of like Porsche's way of saying, yeah, we fucked that up, but we're not going to admit it and remove it. We'll just keep making it smaller till it fades away. So it's, I trust Jay. He's driven my car. I've driven his. We've shared a lot of the same cars. He says it drives phenomenal. I believe him. My biggest issue is why do that with a 997.2?
All right. So first of all, I want to say you guys have finally met the real Paul Kramer. This is what Paul is normally like, salty and full of opinion. And so I want to welcome Paul back. This is the Paul we had in January and February.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be back.
So when you're making nasty comments on Instagram, this guy.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, who's going to argue with you on those points? But I am curious though, and I not that curious, but somewhat curious. How does that even spreadsheet out? How can they do all that work to a car and charge 400 grand for it? And it seems to me like they'll lose money on every one of those cars considering labor rates and whatnot. But that aside.
Yeah. And then the big question is, do we need another backdate kind of Singer-esque thing in our life? And, like when Singer started doing this, I remember talking to Rob Dickinson and he was first doing some, G50 Carreras and he realized from a chassis and component wise, it just didn't make sense. So I remember he's like, I'm moving to 964s. I remember telling him like, that's a great idea. They're 30 grand. You can get them all day long. And those are the good ones. Who knew that 964s would be, unicorns? He's starting with something that we already know is a unicorn. That's my issue. And I keep looking at, like, if you're going to rebuild the motor, just do a 996. All the body work's different. You're cutting the chassis. You could take a 3.6 and build it into a 3.8, or you could do anything. And at 400 grand, add another 100 grand and make a better motor. What's up, Case?
I think the reason why they picked 997 is because even with 996 and 997, it still worries people about the inherent issues with M96 and M97 motors, regardless of what people, I mean, the internet has scared people so dramatically about what is could possibly happen with those cars. And all of that is corrected in 997 second gen.
But look at a guy like Raby, Jack Raby, who's taking 99 M97 motors and building them and sleeving them and doing all the cool shit to them. And those motors go for good money. And those are M97s he's building. All the, Vision Motorsports building race cars, they're all using M97s. They just had a flaw with the way they cast the case and a few, and no Nicosil liners or whatever. And they correct that. And now they're, those motors are easily making 400 wheel horsepower or more.
I mean, I agree. The car that I'm listing on Bring a Trailer has a 3.8 liter track performer motor in it from Flat Six Innovations or whatever. So I know it. I drove it. I wanted to talk to you, I guess, offline later because you asked me my opinions on driving it. But long and short of it is it feels like a 997. I mean, it makes 290 to the ground. It's
Wow.
really strong. But and that in a that out of a 3.4 liter 996 just made a wonderful thing. But to piggyback on this, Paul, this was the car we didn't get to it in the last podcast that I was on, but that was this Roll Sport Wagon or whatever was the thing that I was most interested seeing at Monterey because I wanted to see what they were going to do to the car. I don't like cutting up 997s. I'm tired of resto mod kind of cars as well because they seem to keep coming out. But I mean, sure, do it to an air-cooled car. That's fine, but I mean, I like the idea of the 997 driveline in the car and being an old car, but literally cutting a car and, sectioning it, pulling 3 inches out. I think it's not for me, but I mean, I don't want to step on their market. They'll sell some of them. I guarantee it
I'm
because
How
sure
many are
they
they
will.
trying to sell? How many are they trying to sell? Do you know?
I don't know, but 400 grand's a lot for what I saw, and it's also like you said, Tim. How are they going to make money?
Yeah.
They're going to get squeezed, and if you get up to 600,000, I could think of a lot of other cars that buyer's looking at.
and they're built in Stuttgart, I believe, correct?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So they have German labor rates and they think they're going to be able to retail those in the United States at
And
400 grand.
they're taking a U.S. car, sending it over there, doing their thing, and sending it back, which
No
I have no
tariff.
idea. Okay, so it'll
That's
be no
why.
tariff, but it'll also, the good news is it will be California compliant,
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't know.
I don't
How do
know
you
either.
section that car, though? How would you section that car?
Where would you cut it?
I have no idea. If you go to their website, it's kind of slick. It shows like we modify the chassis and it's very vague. I asked Jay and they said, we basically deducted that the 993 is 3 inches shorter wheelbase. That's really the fundamental difference. Overhangs are different. That doesn't really matter, but what matters is what's in the wheelbase. And because I kept asking Jay originally, like, how is this drive so special? He has a 997.1 that he's sort of made into a, you know, early Carrera T or a GT3 Light or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, how is this different than 997? He's like, oh, they shortened the wheelbase. And I'm like, okay. And he really genuinely liked it. So I think they built it something very, very nice. My question is, I think you could do the same with something else that's more ubiquitous and ready. And, think how many $20,000 996s are out there that you could just hack up, go build a cool motor, whatever. I don't know. They
Cases
are.
Take a bigger lift on the interior, though, on those. Like the interior, although it does look like in the one picture you just showed, Paul, that they've gone back and did something. I don't know if that's
Well, what they
literally an
did, yeah,
old
they put
school dash or not.
it looks like an old school dash. They
Yeah.
then, sort of reverse circumcised on whatever the sport clock Cyclops thing, which I think is one of the ugliest elements of the 997. And they put on like a Momo Prototipo, which to me is
Yep.
kind of like,
Did you
That's
say
standard
reverse
issue stuff, though. That's what
circumcised?
they do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Reverse circumcised? That's a new one. I'm going to write that one down.
yeah.
Got a
And then
sport
the worst
classic
part,
radio in there.
Sport Classic Radio, pretty easy. But
Yeah.
like, the big thing is like the 997 console, just take that out. Like, here's your opportunity
Yeah.
to take that out. And there's so many great seats from Man Shield and Recaro that you could plop in there with
Yeah.
versus just taking not even sports seats, but base seats and putting this pattern in. Now, granted, this was a test meal, so maybe I'm wrong.
I have a
I,
suggestion for the maker of this car. Send it to Sunderworks. That guy does kick-ass interiors, this crazy guy named Dave Inepp.
Yeah.
So there's your suggestion.
Yep.
There you go.
All right,
I
so
think
let's
it's a
move
cool
on.
car, man. I would buy one of those. I think that's a cool car. I mean, I'm contrary. I think the 997 is a good choice for that thing, and I would absolutely buy one of those.
What
I
did I
think
do
it's
in car? What did I do in cars this week? I just prepared for today's podcast, mostly trying to keep the, herding the cats. That's basically where I spent most of my
Perfect.
time in cars this week. Exactly.
Perfect.
I did add something to the spreadsheet. I don't know if you guys saw it, but you know what? We'll hold off on it. I see you guys added some stuff, but I want to scroll down to the section where I was adding in just general observations about what's going on with Porsche. And I told you guys prior to hitting record today that I'd spent some time listening to other people's opinions on Car Week and just kind of gathering my thoughts because it wasn't it wasn't my favorite Car Week. And trying to figure out what's the the vibe shift, as my 11-year-old calls it. And I think I kind of nailed it. So the question, this is an open question. You guys, is this something we should chase? Do you see the open question? I mean, basically what I wrote is, has the world gone insane? Is Porsche about to go bonkers on special editions and model variations? The internet seems to think so, as do all the leaks, expected new 911 models. And I did, the original opinion on the next one has changed by most of the people that seem to be good predictors of what Porsche is going to come out with. But it does appear there is going to be a GT3 cab. It does appear there's
What do they call it? GT3 SC?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
they
I heard
said
so
on
you
the
heard it
Chris
too.
Harris podcast.
Yeah,
Right.
which
Okay.
okay.
Well, so then you also have the Speedster that's inevitably coming out, which is coming out a little bit early. And I think I may have linked you guys a couple of the things I watched. Of course, there's the GT2. And now I'm hearing that there's going to be a GT2 Touring, which, okay. Then there's the GT2 RS, a 911 turbo hybrid, basically, a 911 turbo hybrid with a manual, which was, what was the special 911 turbo rear wheel drive with a manual transmission?
Sport Classic.
Thank you, sir. And so, they're going to be doing a non-special edition version of that. And then there's now believed to be a slant nose that's coming out. So lots of these are special editions. In addition to that, you guys, I'm sure you guys know about the livery, the decal sets that they're now selling for $8,000. So where does all this go with new special editions coming out so frequently with all these going to be the thesis is there's going to do limited runs of these cars. There's no more VIP program. They're going to say it's going to, they're going to do numbered series of cars after numbered series of cars. Frankly, it reminds me of Chrysler in the 1980s. Discuss.
Well,
I don't think. Go ahead.
What
Go ahead,
I
Paul.
think it is this is a reaction to tariffs. I mean, the big market where Porsche makes their money is everything with four doors, more specifically Macans and Cayennes, maybe Panameras, maybe Taycans. But for all intents and purposes, I think they're freaking out because they're between China, tariffs, everything else. I think they are feeling like they're going to get screwed and they're not going to make the margins. They're a public company and they go, where do we make money? What will people buy no matter what we throw at them? We can put a sticker on it. We can make it a limited edition. I mean, even before all this, they had so many variations of the 911. And you look back, it used to be, TE and S. And then they're like, screw it. We're just going to have an SC for 5 years. And then for another 7 years, we're going to have a Carrera. Oh, and then you can have 964, 2, and 4. And all of a sudden, by 18, 19, they had 19 versions of the same car. And they go, you know what? Let's see how narrow we can cut that pie. Because and Tim, all of these stupid little variations, they will sell.
Hell
And
yeah.
yeah, they will sell. The dealers are frothing because they're going to ADM the fuck out of them and they're going to get excited about them. Now, regarding the $8,000 vinyl package, my friend Torsten Klein, he designed all those. Whether you like them on a car or not, it's vinyl, take it off. Is $8,000 a lot to charge for it? I don't know. What would Ferrari charge for the same stuff? 3 times?
30.
Yeah.
All right. And it's
So,
painted though. That'd be the only difference. It'd be 30.
yeah.
But let's just do a poll, okay? How many you guys have all seen these liveries? The one I think they're coming out with 3. The one we've seen images of is for what race team? Remind me.
There's an Andal one, which I think is great.
Yeah. Well,
which
okay.
Yep.
But would you guys go, if you were ordering a new Porsche for $8,000, and I'm just going to choose and just, raise your hand if you choose that, the on dial livery.
With an exception, that car would be going to Sunderwunsch, and it would get more Andile specific. I would look back at Andile's race history and the things that they did in the cars, and I would try to put elements of that in the cars so that it made sense with delivery.
So
It
I'll,
was really deep
Boost
Andile.
knob,
yeah,
Exactly.
962
exactly.
Yeah,
boost knob. I got one of those. I'll
exactly.
show you.
That'd be awesome. I bet you very few people will be willing to spend the extra money. I bet you the dealers will spec them for the cars that they're going to try to, charge ADM on. But I bet you long term, because of the price and probably scarcity, cars with the, liveries are going to sell. They're going
So
to probably show the market likes it.
So let me ask you a different question to that thing. So when the 918 was really the origin story of the livery, remember the 918
Yeah.
program? So Torsten, my friend Torsten, did all those liveries. They were hand applied, etc., hand designed. They could be a little bit different, but also what he did for each one, because they weren't really ordered a lot, was they got a hand drawing from him,
It's
which I.
awesome.
So I'm wondering if that might happen with these things, especially if you do a Sunderwood. Get like a special little, and I think what would be really cool is, yes, it's vinyl. What if they limited it, 30 vinyl edition and
Exactly. Well, that's what Porsche needs to do. I mean, honestly, and I put this in my notes too. You guys have probably scanned it, but they should copy what Ferrari's doing, because Ferrari has absolutely built the model around selling, call it whatever the hell you want to call it. There's different versions. There's tailor made. There's just all these different things. That's what Ferrari should be leaning, or Porsche should be leaning into. But at the same time, a base bog standard 911 992 with very few options, I mean, in light of all these really expensive variants, is looking really appealing at this point. And that car, like I said, I was blown away by my 80,000 mile Toro rental. If somebody listens to the show, had that exact same rental. He rented it too when he was in California. So, but I was really impressed with that car, truthfully. And now that was an S, but I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to see what direction the market goes. But let me ask you guys this question. And this is something, again, I'm still working through myself, because I don't quite understand how the market's changed. We talked about this before we hit record too. So just go back in time like a half hour. The 992 GT3 RS seems to be attracting, Dave aside and true enthusiasts aside, people that are going to track it, people that are just buying the things to match their shoes, to match their purses, to go to Cars and Coffee. There's a lot of ladies buying them, which I'm shocked by. I think it's great. So the market is changing. The buyer is changing. The focus going forward is going to be perhaps that the Porsche brand, and especially the more winged ones, are going to be the aspirational, flex brand. What do you guys think about that? Again, totally different market.
We've
Is it the
discussed this.
bargain?
Yeah.
Is it the bargain car? I mean, compared to the other stuff. So, like, is it a McLaren and a Ferrari or a Lamborghini going to be that much more expensive? And this becomes the entry point. It's the low price leader in the $300,000.
well, but that's the problem. Like Tim posted the other day with that Ferrari, the ADM on them and the market, even the used market, they're the same price. They're choosing that car. Now, Porsche, I gotta believe, is delighted because any chance to find a new audience. Maybe they finally attracted Lamborghini owners and McLaren owners to owning these cars. But at the end of the day, us purists, we're like, we don't want those people. But Porsche's like, we don't care who the people are, as we want to make money. And if we can attract, a bunch of new buyers that will gladly pay, instead of $300,000 MSRP, $450,000 MSRP for the next GT3 RS or whatever, because it seems that's what they're used to, then great. Now we've already moved up market.
Well, you're talking about the Insta that I posted when we were on Ocean Drive in Carmel by the Sea, and it was a gorgeous, probably original. It was an 812 GTS, which is a Spider. And I'm guessing, based on what I remember about it, probably had the original owner probably paid 650, 700 grand for it. And behind it was a GT3 RS, white with green. And I'm telling you, the GT3 RS, now it was the white with green cars, I think, are selling for 400 to 450. And the Ferrari now is selling for probably about the same price. And between the two cars, and they're both, right on the main drag, all these kids taking pictures and whatnot, the Porsche was getting way more attention. And
Yeah.
I think Dave, I hadn't even considered what you said. I think you're right. I think that's the truth. It's basically going to be seen, or it is for now, the entry level sort of. But again, Casey, I think I shared this link, and because I don't want to take credit for this, but it's a really good observation. Somebody on another podcast said, if you see a 918, if the average human sees a 918 roll by, they don't really look at it. But if they see a GT3 RS roll by, especially if it's going, bum, 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 right? I mean, they're going to think the winged up, darted up, tacked up, loud, blah, blah, blah car is the more special car. And to the person buying those cars now, that is probably 50% of the reason they buy it is because they want the attention. Am I wrong or am I right? And that's totally different for Porsche in this type of product, in my opinion.
I mean, we've talked about it a lot, and I do believe that, I mean, from what I saw regarding Car Week and from what you conveyed to us, it's a lot of younger people with a lot of money. Those people, I believe, gravitate towards style. They gravitate towards the fact that when I went to the Andile thing last night, they talked about how, I mean, Alwin was wearing one of the Andile t-shirts that has now been licensed by Porsche. So they have Andile shoes, they have Andile hats, they have Andile keychains. They're selling all these things, and now they're selling an Andile livery on GT3s. I do believe that Porsche is working towards becoming a fashion brand, and I think the GT3 RS, with their marketing of using, people like Dua Lipa for her own special edition version of the car, and they're reaching out to that younger generation with money that like these things to really gain a focus and gain a momentum with those people. And I do believe these people that are looking at these cars now are more forward thinking than backward thinking. I mean, if you think about it, the 918 is 10 years old. So a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old person would have been 20 years old back then. Who knows if they were even thinking about 918s back then. But I do believe that the way that the younger generation is always looking for the newest, latest, and greatest. It's like when people line up to get special sneakers at sneaker stores or those kind of things. Paul's probably got a bunch of special sneakers, knowing him,
For sure.
especially where he lives. But like that, I believe that it's really becoming more fashion and style than it is necessarily for performance and lap times. And I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't think it's anything new.
Well, I hope again, Casey, you'll know more about this than I do, but the parts transference between a GT3 RS and a GT3, race car, right? They're literally the same part numbers. I've seen people put cars up on lifts and, literally the same part numbers, control arms, all the way from stem to stern. The car is virtually the same. You do that to a Ferrari, you do that to a Speciale, 458 Speciale versus the race car version, or certainly the 296 Speciale versus the ones that the challenge cars, they don't have hardly any shared parts. So I'm fearful that Porsche is going to say, why the hell are we putting so much really, high-end content in these cars if people are just buying these for the flash? Why don't we just start, selling them more decals and selling them more, colored freaking carbon fiber and all that other stuff?
I hear you. I hear you, but I really think that at the end of the day, it comes down to Nürburgring lap times. And if you can't put up a solid lap time to say that you're better than everybody else, I don't think they've gotten to the point where they have not made that the forefront of their attention.
Except
So
except Ferrari doesn't play that game, and they don't have they're not in the top 10. I don't even think they have a car in the top 20 at Nürburgring. Oh, and by the way, and thank you for reminding me, I believe Corvette is 3 cars in the top 10 for production cars. And I know you love Corvettes, so I thought I'd mention that.
I do actually. I came across a Facebook memory the other day I sent to my dad of us driving to the Corvettes at Carlisle in his 60 Corvette, and it made me smile. I think my quote underneath of it was, who needs a Porsche when you're going into Carlisle with your dad in his 60 Corvette? So
Well, that's kind of cool.
I do like certain Corvettes, just not the new ones.
Yeah, got it. Well, we can now, let's make fun of Paul since he's got his mic muted. This is a value question. I have this for you guys. If I give you an example here. So I had a friend of mine that wanted to get a new Ferrari F80, and those cars right now are supposedly trading hands for, 4 million, 6 million. I don't even know what the number is, but he wanted to get one. The dealer my dealer, I know two dealer owners, store owners, and they both told me to tell him the same thing. He's got to buy every special edition high-end car by Ferrari, starting at the 288 GTO, ideally, the Enzo, LaFerrari, F50, F40, all of them. He has to buy all those cars. That's 25 or 30 million. Then he has to have at least one example of the current models in his possession in his garage, Sangue, all the others. And then he has to participate in a Ferrari Cliente program or do something with racing and probably also buy a race car before he's even going to be considered. And so I called him up thinking he was just going to say, that's a joke, I won't do it. And what he told me was, he said, okay, help me put it together. And I wonder, and so that must be what's happening in Ferrari world that's making Ferrari so bold that the owners are willing, they raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar, and the owners are going like, yeah, let's go, let's go, And that is probably going to happen in the Porsche world too, which, getting to my value question, it makes me wonder if these cars that we think are like full retail, a 2016 911R, 2019 Speedster, and all these other things, whether those cars are actually going to seem kind of cheap as Porsche starts to play the Ferrari game. What do you think, Dave?
I think for sure. I mean, and they will be relative to what Ferrari's doing, but I do think that as these other cars keep coming up in price, it's going to bring up all these other special cars as well. The cars you just referenced, Tim. So I do believe that everything is going to just keep going up and up and up, especially as the amount of these cars go down in terms of production and so on and so on. But yeah, I'm definitely of a belief that these prices are going up. It's going to lift everything. And I'm not a fan of the livery stuff in the least. And for lots of reasons, liveries don't last forever. That's for sure too. If you start ripping that stuff off, what are you doing to the paint underneath that car? Where is this car going to be stored? If that thing is a super collectible, vinyl does not last forever. That's for sure. And so I
Fades.
don't know.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
like that.
Yeah, and especially if they put it on if the paint isn't fully cured. But I know there's lots of techniques. But still, when you take off PPF, that's old PPF on cars, you can take paint up. It's not, that's kind of common,
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
absolutely.
especially on Ferraris.
Yeah, no, true story. Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, that's a good question. So what do the PPF manufacturers suggest and how long you should leave it on the car before you take it off and replace it? Is there a timeline on that?
It would be up to 3M. Porsche uses 3M materials for all of their liveries.
I
So
know,
it's
but
whatever
But there
3M
is a
says.
difference between vinyl and paint protection
right.
film as well, right? So that's why some of the paint protection film guys have started to do colored paint protection film because it is easier to come on and off the car. It's not as the adhesives and stuff are different in terms of their makeup. I wouldn't want to be leaving vinyl on a car more than 2 or 3 years, probably. Again, depending on how it's stored and everything else. And Casey, the image you have behind you, I mean, a race car is one thing. That stuff comes on and off and on and off, and they're changing it all the time. But boy, have you ever tried to take old vinyl, and we have off 993s, it is a bear and it ruins the paint underneath. If you've had it on there for 10 years or something like that, you can absolutely expect a paint job. I almost guarantee it.
Even if you
Well,
don't take the paint up, you can't get the fade differences you
Yeah.
can't wet sand it out. It's just ruined. Yeah.
Nope. Plus the paint is faded underneath and the
Yep.
vinyl isn't faded and it's protected the paint. And I mean, putting vinyl on a car for a long period of time is a problem for sure. I definitely am not a big vinyl guy on full wraps and things like that.
I mean, the only experience I have with long-term vinyl application, reapplication is my client with the 4 liter, the top surface vinyl. It was weird. It was definitely degrading. So the kind folks at Gowden Porsche were able to source me fresh vinyl from Germany. And we put that on, and I mean, the car's white, of course, so you can't really tell for color degradation, but it came off and went back on fine. And that car was, I mean, it's garaged, for sure, in
No, it
climate
makes a
control,
difference
and
for sure. Yeah.
wasn't a lot, but maybe, I mean, a lot of these GT3, I mean, how many people street park GT3s or park them in the sun or those sorts of things? A lot of people will ceramic coat them so they've got, the UV rejection or whatever. I'm not a detailer, so I can't comment, but I mean, I hear what you say for sure.
Why would you ceramic coat a car and then put PPF over it? Explain that.
I don't normally normally you put ceramic coating over top of PPF because if you put ceramic coating down, most times things won't stick to it.
So I'll just say I'll use real words. I think it's a scam, and it's been going on a long time. And a lot of people will pay too much putting down ceramic coat, and then their detailer or their installer says you have to put ceramic coat, and then you put down he's back. And then I know what he just did. Gross.
Feeling fresh,
And then
feeling fresh and lovely.
and then you he washed his hands, and then you put down the PPF over it. There's no reason to do it. I'll tell you guys a little funny. If you get a new Ferrari, dear listener or dear viewer, and you see the little in you see the inevitable paint defects in the car, the best thing for you to do psychologically is not worry about getting the paint defects fixed, because you won't. Just put some PPF over it and they'll all go away. Because all new Ferraris in particular, I don't know why, but they always have the nastiest ass swirl marks. I don't know if it happens at the port. I don't know if it happens over in Italy and someone just says the dealership will fix it. And then you can see these, it's crazy. Throw some PPF on it. You'll never remember that they were there. There you
And
go.
you wonder why the paint comes off when they remove the clear bra in the future.
Yeah.
Now the
Yeah, well,
sanding marks underneath of clear coat, I've seen it all on Ferraris.
no, that's a good point too, dude, because you're right. There's no way that paint's gonna adhere correctly if there's freaking sanding marks. Yeah, me too. Ugh, we had a new piece to deliver, all right? And I'm looking it over, and I used to be a car detailer at a car detail shop, and I found not on, so they paint the stripe over the original, and we did Rosso Corsa with the white and blue stripe, of course. Yes, Paul, I made fun of myself. And on the nose of the car and the tail of the car, you could see you guys know what a DA sander is? I know Dave
Sure,
does. You could
sure.
actually see the freaking DA sander marks underneath the blue and white stripe. And I'm standing there with this this is in Austin, the general manager of the store, and he's like, "It's Ferrari. What the hell are you going to do about it? You're going to do nothing about it. You're not going to get him to fix it."
Yeah, somebody else will buy that car.
Yeah.
Well, what you do is you put PPF on it and you forget it's there, or get a PPF before you even see it, and then it's all good. Clear conscious.
Yeah.
That's the move.
Or
So
you don't buy Ferrari.
that's advanced player mode for Ferrari buyers. So anything in the automotive news segment here that caught your guys' attention? Anything you guys would like to talk about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, the biggest thing, close friend in the automotive world, Rod Emery's dad, Gary Emery, sadly passed away. I think unexpectedly passed away.
Mm.
I think it was on Wednesday. I've known Gary since the late 90s. When I had my replica Spider, he had parts obsolete. He was just, I think, leaving Costa Mesa, heading to Oregon, and I pestered him. And then even when he was up in Oregon, I got my first 911T in 2001, and I was dealing with seats. And if you've ever met Gary or you've ever seen him he was at Airwater recently, Casey, he always has a crowd around him because Gary loves to tell a story. Um, like I will tell a story and you will be captive until you're bored to death, but Gary will go beyond that. And really neat person. Rod posted something. His dad passed away in his arms.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw that.
Through the sources and people I know, this is just speculation. I think he went out the, you never, you didn't, it's always too soon. I mean, he was probably in his late 70s, spunky, healthy guy going to Glamis and, Pismo and doing all the other off-road stuff with Rod. I mean, he's just a hot rodder through and through. This was sort of his iconic car. It was at Airwater. It's been at a bunch of Luftkults. I think on the top it says something turned me over because it did flip over at one point in a race and they, re-put it back together. At one point I thought they were going to do one of the Pegasus upside down just to make it work right, but yeah, Gary is a cool dude, and he went out, I think, quickly, possibly heart attack, health immediate. It wasn't like a long drawn out thing, but he. And by the way, this photo is taken by my good friend Randy Wells. He did a piece for Panorama years ago on him. If you get a chance to see it. But rest in peace, Gary. Good guy.
yeah.
Mm,
God bless you, sir. Definitely.
yeah.
Um, how about you, Dave? Anything in the news that caught your eye?
Well, I mean, I was just looking because we had talked about some of these cars that were going away, and I saw a story about all the models, the sedans, some SUVs and so on that are effectively going by the wayside. for 25. So there's cars that are just no longer going to be around anymore, including Acura's killing the TLX. Audi kills the A4 after this
Yeah,
year as
I'm bummed
well.
about that.
Yeah, what I read suggests that they're just doing some kind of reorientation of the numbering or something along that. They're also getting rid of the Q8. I'm just scanning through. I won't dwell on this too long because there's a few that you just wouldn't give a crap if they left or not. Cadillac's XT4 and XT6 are both
I'm
gone.
just grateful you're not telling us about a Ford electric truck again, Dave. That's all.
Well, I tried, but that just didn't resonate with you.
No,
But I
you got to
know,
know.
Tim,
We
that you're
don't.
going to be really disappointed to hear that the Chevy Malibu is no longer going to be made.
Exactly. I wouldn't know a Malibu if it bit me in the ass. Would you guys?
I mean, unless that's the platform for like the 6-speed manual with the
Yeah.
Corvette motor, that was interesting. Other than that, yeah, like Tim,
No.
I'll fall asleep.
Polestar, the Polestar leaves. The
Okay,
Polestar is
that same
gone.
thing. All
Polestar
right, Dave. I think
2.
Dave. I'm afraid you're done. If you can't bring it back to be on brand with Full Throttle Talk, are we going to talk
Well,
about how to pick a old folks home next? What you look for
no,
in the
well, no,
pudding
no.
recipes?
The obviously the 718 series Porsches. Also they're also gone for the after foreseeable future.
Yeah,
I
we need
rather
to.
doubt
Yeah.
I rather doubt any of those cars that have been electrified will not have their ice hearts returned to them because that's what the market demands. And that's one of the reasons that Porsche is so screwed right now is because the all-seeing, round table of the smarterazzi over in Europe had decided that everyone wanted an electric car, and it turns out nobody wanted an electric car, or very few did. Their electric cars have their purpose and whatnot, but not in a sports car. But time will tell. Maybe the 718 electric version is going to be phenomenal. But are you guys interested in the electric version of the 718? Raise your hand.
Nope.
You know what? I think I told you the last time I was in a 918 because I've driven them at full tilt before. I went through this wonderful forest road and I just clicked the thing in electric mode. And it was pretty amazing being in a car like that with just the sound of nature around you. And that's honestly something I really do like about my electric Vespa a lot because it kind of puts you in that kind of bicycle mode where you're able to be transported through a place, but you're still able to enjoy what's around you. At the same time, I love mid-engine Porsches. They're great, but if they made both of them simultaneously, I think that might be a better move. But unfortunately, I am really bummed that it's going away, but it will give us a great topic. What is the best, you know, 1997 and later mid-engine Porsche
Mhm.
for sure.
We'll write that one down. That's a good idea. Put that one in the
Yeah.
sheet for next week.
Yep.
So I'm going to change what my automotive news is. In case you can go last, since you can talk about the Ferrari, which I'm interested in hearing about. You guys heard about the new Golf R that's going to have supposedly have
Oh,
400. Okay.
I hope it comes out.
I hope it comes out too.
I mean, seriously, that would be the freaking badass ass car sold in America. Sorry, full stop, Porsche or Ferrari or McLaren or blah, 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 blah. But it's a 400, supposedly like a 402 horsepower straight out of the Audi, was it the RS3? I mean,
Yep.
come on, Volkswagen, please build that damn thing.
I mean, Audi should bring out I mean, I remember when I was in Germany in 2015 or 2016 picking up a Macan for Euro delivery, and I kept seeing all these. I really wanted a diesel wagon A3. That was when they did the A3 wagons. If they brought back an A3 wagon now with that RS3 motor in it, that'd be an awesome car. But if the Volkswagen, I mean, my wife only drives GTIs. We've got a Mark 7.5 GTI now, and we had a
Sweet
Mark
car.
5 before it.
Yep.
And I think they're insane. And that car, like we talked about that Spectrum thing, like that's a way for Volkswagen to make money.
Totally.
James Pumphrey on the Speed channel we're going to get into one day our favorite YouTube channels, and I'm going to talk about two of them right now. I'll get to one of them in a little bit, but Speed on YouTube is amazing. It's a whole vibe. And James really loves Mark III Volkswagens, which I'm big into as well. But he did basically this big expose on why Volkswagen is failing. And bringing back a car like they're proposing really would do so much service for people that give a shit about Volkswagen.
Is the buzz not a buzz? Is no one buzzing about the buzz because it's an EV or because it's overpriced or both?
I think the part of the reason that it's getting some kickback is they only brought the big version of it to the United States. I remember at Rensport, Paul, were you at Rensport and
Yep.
Rensport 7? Did you see that Rendiest one that they had dressed up to look like the old parts carrying van? It was a
Yes,
short
yes,
wheelbase
yeah,
one, then the dark red. It looked badass.
yeah. And you know
And
that, and if they did make it, they would just go like European market only.
yeah,
Well, they do make a short wheelbase. They do
Yeah.
make a short one, but they don't
but
bring
just
it
not
here.
here.
Why
Yeah.
do you
Like the
think they don't bring
Or
it
like the
in?
Scirocco.
Why aren't they
Oh,
bringing that in?
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I think it's because of the whole third row thing, the whole game with basically lots of, because they're trying to compete against SUVs. It's Casey's hitting the nail on the head. These guys are fearful of making cars that are too focused in on a specific niche. And the Golf R might with the, essentially Volkswagen's PTS thing, which by the way, their PTS plan, whatever it's called, you know the name. It's really good. Their paint
Yep.
options are really cool. But
Huge
if
numbers.
But Volkswagen needs to do something like that. All these manufacturers need to basically go back to what were my original USPs? What made me special? Why is it that people fell in love with my products? And I need to do that again. And I need to stop trying to be trendy. I need to stop being
Well,
crackle. But yeah, go ahead.
but I think the problem is they're looking at quarterly profits versus long term. And what happens is you build a cool golf product and you have an affordable one all the way up. And what happens is, like James, like Casey talked about with James, we got into Volkswagen Golfs and Rabbits because we were young. We were 15, 16, 17. They were obtainable. And then what happens is you then become loyal to the brand. And then you have your family. And then you get your Tiguan and whatever else, three-row Volkswagen, whatever. What they're forgetting is they just go, well, gosh, the sport compact, the hot hatch market isn't there. The market is really for crossovers and three-row cars. So we'll just go there. And they forget that the people got there because they had a Rabbit when they were in high
They
school.
do. Well,
And
so what it you remember the Fiat 500, which I know, Paul, you're a great fan of. The Fiat 500 had, I know, the Fiat 500 had the Ferrari edition in Italy. You guys know what I'm talking about? There was a Tributo. Oh, please, son. You know you want
that
one.
on speed lines I would just, Harry
Oh, I'll put
Carey.
the Speedline picture back up
But
just
let
for
me let
you.
me finish making my point. And yes, please put the speed line picture back up to get back at Paul for that. But they had a Tributo version of the Fiat 500, and it was Rosso Corsa, Ferrari Scuderia stripes. It was a marketing job. But what if, wait for
It
it.
came with a pair of shoes
Okay,
or a
no,
purse,
that's pretty good though. No, but what if Volkswagen
man
were to come
purse,
out and purse, but the
yeah,
purse would be for Paul. What
man
if
purse. Yeah.
What if, by the way, I am never going to get used to guys carrying freaking Hermes purses. I saw that when we were out Carmel too. It's like, are you carrying? I asked Julie when I saw this, is he carrying it for his, significant other, wife's girlfriend, what have you? Nope, it's his.
I'm surprised that Rolex you bought didn't come with one.
Well, I bought this back when I was probably younger than you, so I've had it forever. uh, I bought this bad boy in the 90s. So as far as Volkswagen, Golf R Porsche edition. Oh, now you like it. So why don't they do some kind of marketing thing with Porsche, and then they can essentially Volkswagen, since they're all part of the same family who are all suffering equally, VAG, what they could hypothetically then make it so that, the Volkswagen Golf R or even the GTI were to be the gateway drug onto the Porsche family, since Volkswagen doesn't go into the more expensive stuff anymore. There would be my marketing idea. You can have that Porsche and Volkswagen, please.
I think it's a great idea. The problem is, you have to have almost this Japanese long-term thinking that Porsche and I like to call them Vag Group doesn't really think of. They got this quarterly profits. They're all publicly driven, and they're not ready to go produce a car, have losses of billions for maybe,
Could you
5, 6, 8
please stop
quarters.
talking like you are right now? Because we do not want to discourage them from making our freaking RS3
No, I
Yeah, I
want
was
it.
gonna.
I
Golf
want it.
R. You
Well,
be
they should
quiet.
call it an RS2,
I wanted the
RS
RS3. I want
2.2.
like literally if we got the RS3 hatchback, I would have been definitely a buyer for that potentially.
Me too. Yep.
Yep.
I hate the sedan. I don't think it's good looking at all.
And the sad thing is, it is a great car, but I agree, the sedan is so boring. As much as I hate an M4, I might or an M3, I would get that over the sedan.
Well, people again, and I know this is an arguable thing, but why do people in the United States not like smaller cars? Why do people in the United States not buy hatchbacks? And it's because it's a status thing. And it's people will say it's safety and people will say it's blah, 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 blah. But the reality of it is you can make an equally safe, lighter, smaller car. But people, essentially the big brains over in Europe think that Americans won't buy it. And they're probably right.
But also, everyone wants, you ask women, they love the SUVs because they got better visibility. But now everyone's driving an SUV. So you drive a sports car, it's like driving through a moving canyon like New York City. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in a 911 and it's like, there's no like finding somewhere where I have visibility at all. I mean, it makes me almost want to take the carpool
914s
lane.
are the worst.
Oh, yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
You just feel like you're just going to be a footprint on some other
Well,
SUV.
that TR2 I bought, Casey will understand this. So you could literally like put your arm out the window and practically have your elbow scratch the ground. That's how small
Yeah,
that car is.
well, I can drag my hands on the I can drag my fingernails on the ground when driving my dad's TR3.
There you go. So you have something interesting to share with us about, yes, Paul's favorite topic, Ferrari. Casey, go for it.
So I think Paul can get down with older Ferraris that are interesting, especially ones that aren't made by Ferrari but are made by English people. So the car behind me, if you look, I love the Haggerty YouTube channel. I think it's
Definitely.
tremendous. I have my two favorite automotive journalists are Chris Harris and Henry Catchpole. And
And I would add Jason Camisa into that as a third.
I like Jason as well.
Especially his Corvette thing he did for Haggerty. Love or
Oh,
hate
the
Corvette.
ZR1. Yeah.
That was freaking off the charts, bonkers good. Sorry,
Yep.
Casey.
So Henry Catchpole did a story of the Pro Drive 550 GTO that won its class in Le Mans, I think in 2003, the GTS category. The car behind me is that car. And it in the video, it didn't look like this. If you look at the driver's side rear fender, you can see it's got kind of like a blue and white livery. That's how the car shows in the video. Because the car ran so long and under so many different liveries, but it's a tremendous video. I didn't know that much about 550 GTOs, but being that my buddy owns one and I drove it the other week, when this video came up, I was like, well, I'll check this out. And it was awesome. It was pure, tremendous storytelling, talking about, I think Ollie Gavin was in the video. He was running the C5Rs against them at Le Mans, and they were talking about closing speeds. And it was so well done. It was so well scripted. And I'd really recommend everybody check it out. It was tremendous.
The ability to drive fast and talk in a non-excited or overly, energetic way so you can actually convey a thought is, I don't have that skill.
And
Like,
when I was driving that 550, like it was so difficult for me to shift and engage a gear and make sure it's because it's got these long overhangs to not stick the front end into something. I can't imagine. I would love to be with somebody that drove a car like that in period, that really knew what they were doing or had 50,000 miles in one, because to me, the car had so many different, like inflection points of steering. Actually, the steering was really great because the wheelbase is short, just like that 997. But when you're shifting gears, like I think Ferrari puts gated manuals in cars because their manual transmissions are so bad that you need the gates to actually be able to find gears. Is that the case, Paul? Have you driven
I
many
always
manual
wondered maybe 911s needed it and they just like
but the,
a
but the
901
fi-
and a 915
no,
needed a gated
Casey,
shifter.
it's just a historical thing. It's like Porsche having the key on the 911 on the side because the gets, the Le Mans, blah, blah, blah. That's all. It has
Sure.
nothing to do with bad transmissions,
But the engagement and everything felt so interesting that it would really be cool to experience that car with somebody that really knew how to drive it. And I'll make that a goal of mine. I've not ridden as a passenger in the car before, but it was pretty great. But anyway, absolutely do yourself a favor and watch that video. It's awesome. It is really, really great.
V12s. Paul, have you ever driven one?
Sure. We sold a 550 Maranello gated shifter and it was lovely. And
Yeah.
and going back to what Casey said, and we talked about this before the show, which I think the minute we get on the show, Tim, just hit record. We could edit it out.
I know.
Like there's the shit we sling is pretty freaking great.
All right,
But
I'll
anyway,
do that. I'll do that next
And,
week.
and we touched on it briefly, but you know, the nuance of how, even a 550 Maranello, that's 90s, it's not really that vintage, but it still had a leg, planted in the vintage world. And I remember driving that car and I was like, I got that car to sell. It was a beautiful silver with a blue interior, 97, 550 Maranello, 19,000 miles. We sold it in 2011 for 70 grand. And I was like, I'm going to drive this for a week. Daily driver, grocery shop, take the kids to school, do everything like a regular car. And in the beginning, it was sort of temperamental Ferrari, didn't like second gear cold, the normal stuff. And then once you kind of calibrated, it didn't test drive well, what I like to say. In 30 minutes, you weren't going to be proficient at it. And in a week, I got semi proficient at it just because I drive different cars. But that's like, I always tell people these old cars take 6 months to calibrate to. Like, they're not going to drive like your modern car. And once you got the 550 Maranello kind of figured out, it was great. And then going what to you said, a really big collector, funny guy here in Orange County, he wants to buy the car. He says, bring it over to my shop. I never like to do that, but he's a good friend. It wasn't far away. I bring it over there. He has a bunch of these cars, old Ferraris. He knows how to drive them. He's part of the Cliente program with one of Michael Schumacher's F1 cars. He's batshit crazy. I don't know if I trust him, but I know he can drive. We get in the car and we do the most harrowing street drive around his property. It's like this 3 mile square block loop, like literally right hand red light drifting into the corner. And it was awesome. I mean, it was like you could have been in an 80s Ferrari, you could have been in a 70s Ferrari. It just had all of that, which I still think the 360 and maybe the 430 have. But now you get these guys in the new cars, well, obviously don't have a manual anymore. And they, if you're driving them 30 miles an hour, they're easy. And
Definitely.
fuck easy. I want these cars to be bitches at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, and
Like,
I
I
was
want them to be
yeah.
clear that, like, you are using me the wrong way. And if you're going to use me the wrong way, I'm going to make it difficult for you. I want to be on the open highway or whatever.
He's
Dave,
really
have you driven
salty
have you driven a
today.
V12?
Gosh.
I've not driven one. I've been in a passenger, not driven one.
So what would be Casey, how would you encapsulate driving that 550? Like, what was the experience you had driving a 12-cylinder front engine Ferrari? And Paul, the front engine versus the mid engine is a huge difference when you drive a front engine Ferrari, because you can say an 812 Competizione as a performance car and whatever, but it's really a GT car, because that's just how it is. But what was your experience given all your Porsche background?
Well, I actually look after a lot of Ferraris too.
Sure.
I look after an F12 TDF and an 812 Comp. And my buddy that owns this car owns a 599 as well. And like LFAs that I could never, I love the sound of LFAs, but the transmissions are horrible. The 599 transmission it's not as bad as an LFA transmission. But to me, I wanted to feel this car with this recipe. And it was the funny thing for me is it reminded me of Bad Boys 2. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
of
a
course.
575 or a 550. To me, they look the same, but I have a picture of myself from a zillion years ago at the Ritz-Carlton in New Orleans standing in front of a 550 when they were new. And it was, to me, it's archetypal. I think it is one of the most beautiful modern-ish Ferraris. It's a Luca Montezemolo car, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yep.
when he was in charge of Ferrari, I thought the cars looked a lot better.
You know
And
why?
I don't.
They
Yeah,
were all
taste.
designed.
He had
Who knows?
taste.
Yeah, well, I'll interject a story here you guys will appreciate. So we're at Pininfarina in Italy, right? Of course. And this is as Ferrari was moving to have their own design studio. I forget what it's called, something fancy in Italian, on campus at Ferrari. So up until that point, about when we were there, which I think was 2011, Pininfarina had done all their designs. And Luca would fly in because our little group, we were with the car guy tour thing. So Luca would fly in on a helicopter over to Pininfarina from, Maranello. And they said they could hear him coming from miles away because the helicopter was making so much ruckus. And then he would land to your point, Paul, about him having taste. And he would go in there and tell the designers what he did or didn't like about their designs. And so a lot of the Ferraris from his generation were directly influenced by his design. And the one in particular that they were saying that he really had a lot of hands on was the Lusso. And you know the what was it called before that? And now
It was
The
the
FF.
FF, right?
which
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, one of the few Ferraris I would love to have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everyone who's driven those cars say they're magnificent, and you know, front engine Ferrari, you can actually seat four people comfortably. I knew the former GM of the Austin Ferrari store and he was a former football player. Had three of us. He was driving, and three of his huge football player friends, two in the back, one in the front, and they went out and burned through a set of tires on Coda.
But you know why I like them. They are an Italian four-seater M coupe. Just
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I just love how ridiculous they are. And has anyone manual swapped those cars? Is that even possible?
Well, here let's actually circle around what we're talking about. Ferrari manual transmission, all these other things. There's really a lot of rumors coming out of Italy that they're going to start making the very high-end cars with manual options, and that'll probably trickle down because again, these guys are going to try to split the pie even more amongst their high-end consumers, and that's going to happen in Porsche, and that same way it's going to happen in Ferrari for sure.
I
So,
don't know why Ferrari has waited so long to do that.
so
I don't
Dave,
either.
question for you. What is your favorite modern Ferrari if you had to pick one?
Who are you asking?
Dave,
He's asking me,
I got to make sure he's
the
awake.
worst guy on this podcast to no, yeah, I probably the I mean I kind of like the Roma. It's a good looking car. It's unique. I mean that's it's
I like the fact that the Roma has a name. You know, it's not a
Yeah,
number.
yeah, good call.
Did you guys? I agree.
I
Did
can't
you
keep any
guys?
of the numbers straight on any of them, candidly. But Roma's, you know, a cool, good looking front engine
I
car.
agree. I think it's
Ferrari
beautiful.
Ferrari had the Roma and the Amalfi essentially sitting next to each other at Casa di Ferrari this year at Pebble Beach. And the Roma looked so much better than the Amalfi. The Amalfi's front end and back end, I don't know what the hell they're thinking when they redesigned that car. The original Romas, I agree with Dave 100%. I think the Roma, especially the Roma Spider, is a shockingly beautiful car. I think the Ferrari 296, the 296 GTS is also a shockingly good looking car. And the GTS is now essentially coming out as the best modern Ferrari to answer Casey's inevitable next question. Yes, Paul, go ahead, get it in.
I'm feeling an allergic reaction because we haven't talked about Porsche for a
I
few
know.
minutes.
I was thinking we're going to lose our entire audience.
We get back to Porsche.
Okay.
All
All right,
right,
I'm done.
let's move on. Let's move on. Segment 3. This week in auctions. What are your top two? What are the top two? Just whatever caught your eye this week in auctions. And I'm sure you guys had fun with this. I'm gonna have Dave go first. Dave, you want to go get some coffee, son?
No, I'm good. I'm good. It's you know, I'll wake up here. We're good. Um, this particular car I thought was interesting, and I'll tell you why. Good and bad here. This particular car is obviously an Outlaw 356A. It has a history that seemed to have it modified several times, including the addition of a Polo motor that we've talked about previously to this build just a few years ago, 2022, I believe. This car sold for about $350,000,
Wow.
and I think it could have done more. I just thought the interior was a total letdown on this car. That's the thing that I
Yep.
think held this car back, because this
Okay,
interior.
let him finish presenting and then we'll talk. Okay, so go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. No, what I was going to say is the rest of this car I think is terrific. I mean, it's beautiful color. The build is good. The build spec is good. The builders who built the car, lots of different craftsmen over the years and so on. But then you look at this interior, and let's see if I can show it, which is basically a set of modified second gen Recaro sport seats where they've chopped the tops and used an adjustable
Exactly.
headrest.
Yeah, it looks
That
like a
looks
Mark
like
II GTI seat.
they look
Yeah.
like tombstone
You
seats from
guys,
an 80s car.
let
Yeah.
let the gentleman present his two cars that he
No,
likes, and then we can
chime in, go.
and then we'll rip him apart.
No, he's
This-
right.
this-
No, Dave is dead on. He's right.
But that's why this car didn't do the money. I mean, it should, when you look at an Emory car, these Emory cars on the secondary market, I mean, it's costing you $350,000-$400,000 to buy an Emory car when you spec it from Rod. This car
How much did
has
you
got
say,
a
Dave?
terrific 350 to 400, I think, is
No,
where the
sir.
entry point is. You
No,
think he's higher now, huh?
I know he's higher. The entry
Okay.
point
No,
the entry point
600.
3 years ago was 400 grand 3 years ago.
Okay.
So, and he talked to, and actually he talked about it on the Spike show. I mean, I felt so bad for Rod dealing with those knuckleheads, but he basically 3 years and you start at 500,000, 600,000, and it wasn't really clear that you may have to have the car.
No,
There
he
may be an
supplies
option.
it. He supplies
Right.
it.
Okay.
Julie and I had one ordered and we backed out on it because frankly,
Yeah.
my interest changed to be honest with you, which I'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
So you had a secondary car too. And by the way, we love the Emory family, just like
Absolutely.
freaking royalty of the Porsche nerds, Go ahead, Dave. What was your other car?
The other auction that I was watching, or it was less a car and more, hang on a minute, I'm just making sure I'm not confusing things here, but
It looks
I
like it was
thought
yeah, go ahead.
I thought this was an interesting sale. And this is basically not a car, but this was a bargain, in my opinion, for this set of sports seats. So this particular set of sports seats went for $4,500, and this is a late generation. I pay attention to this stuff a good bit because these cars are definitely, or excuse me, these seats definitely bring real money. This should have been $7,000 for this set of seats. But this one went no reserve at $4,500. They look terrific. It's one of the best seats that I have ever sat in. It's my most go-to seat for Porsches, is that generation, which is the fourth generation sports seat that you found up in through early 993s. And that's a great buy. That's a good buy for those seats.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. His first option, right? So even if it's an Emory car, and Emory definitely has the premium brand. If you have a choice between spending 400 to 450 on an Emory, and we all love Rod, or 400 to 450 on a 356 GS with a four cam, which are you going to choose and why?
You
Casey,
know,
you
you can get a four cam for 450 grand.
yes, sir.
I mean, okay, not apples to apples, not a great one. Not a great
Apples to apples,
Yeah.
it's not a great one. You're right, because I'm comparing basically a
But
modernized old car to an
no, no,
old
no, no,
car.
no. But I'm saying yes, you can get a four cam, non-numbers match. Like if you're buying a four cam
Uh,
car, you
you
want a
can get
good
a
one.
numbers matching GS. You know how I know?
How?
I asked Cam to find me one, and he said I asked him what I should expect to spend, and he said 400 to 450.
Can I
Done.
can I
Like done car. Done.
Yeah, yeah, done rolling car. And he and I, this is, and by the way, we should have talked about this. He has won so many Pebble Beach, awards. It's ridiculous. I don't even know how many, but his car won. It was sitting next to my friend's D-Type. Anyway, that's when I got an opportunity to corner him and talk to him about that. But he told me, we were talking about, look at Paul checking comps. He told me that he could get us, I know what you're doing. He said he could get us a 356 four cam. Honestly, we didn't talk about numbers matching or whatever. I didn't get into it with him, but he said you can get one of those from 400 to 450 grand.
So okay, assuming that's the case, I don't think so, but assuming that's the case, because if you do that, let me know the end price at the very end when you do. I would probably still get a Rod Emory for this very reason. Those GS are cool. They're amazing. The four cam motor, insane. Not super usable. A nightmare to maintain. I think that is a market that is aging out, and for the GS four cam that are really, if you're going to buy that, you buy, it's like an RS. You're going to buy a 73 RS. You're not, you can, yes, you can find them for 6, 7, 800,000. No, you plan on spending $1 million because you might as well get a great one. Because finding for so many reasons. Whereas, as much as I love Rod Emory, and I think his cars are beautiful, and I'm not necessarily in the market, I would probably go with the Rod Emory because I think in the long run, I think it's a more stable buy. And I hate future value, but I think in terms of who the buyers, there's going to be more buyers down the road for that car than the GS. And it is a hop in, kick in the pants, fun to drive, easy to maintain, better experience, period. But
You
I do
might be
love
right.
it.
You might be right, and that is not traditional advice that you just offered, but you might be right because this new generation that we don't completely understand is growing up loving Emery's because Emery is so trendy and popular. So you might be
Yes.
right. Casey, what would you choose? An Emery 356 or a four cam GS?
It's a tough question because I know people that buy Singer cars for a lot of money, and you can buy a Singer car, you can buy like a 3.3 liter lightweight for like the same amount of money, which is like crazy that people buy Singers when those exist.
Sorry, he's right.
But I drive um like I have an old Porsche, which I'll get into on the next podcast, not this one, that has old Porsche problems. And every once in a while, I'd like to get in the car. And when Paul was talking about reacclimating to old car things, I look after literally some of the best examples of 964s probably out there. And I always compare my car to that, which I have difficulties doing because, it's an old car with a bunch of miles on it. But I would traditionally tell you that I would go for the original recipe rad version because it's what's in my blood. But I know that Rod's cars are safe because they've got really great brakes. I know that they're put together super well, and who knows who would have done a restoration on a $450,000 GS 4 cam car.
Well,
But
hold on. Again, so you're saying you're bifurcated too. You're of two minds, but I'll suggest to you that GS that you can now get between 4 and 450 was selling for what Paul's remembering them as an 900 to 1.2 million. So when the car was restored, it probably was numbers matching and restored to the highest level. And so you're just for what it's worth. As far as safety goes, yeah, you're probably right about the brakes, but the structure's virtually the same. They're both, essentially rolling beer cans, right?
I'd probably, I mean, I don't like 356 coupes personally, but I would go with the Emory car in this situation.
Dave, how
I
about
just
you?
think it's a lot more
Yeah,
usable.
I would do the Emory car for sure. Same reasons that you guys have all stated. Plus, I just like the styling. I like what he does. I like the fact that it's tweaked and tucked in certain spots, and I like what he does with the interiors, which is a little bit raw, rowdy, rough, but still feeling tailored. And to me, I think he does a really nice job on the interior work. So I'd go with the Emory.
All right, so here's the challenge to all of you guys. He's showing right there in his backdrop a car that people out of 10 would have assumed was an Emory, and arguably, I don't know, but arguably is built to the same standard. Let's just assume that it is. And the problem is the same problem that Singer's having. There is going to be, if there's a big market for hot rod 356s, there's going to be 20,000 other people making the same damn things. The vintage 356 GS 4 cams, they aren't making any more of those. So moving on, now that I got the last word in.
Let,
All
let
right,
me
so
go next because I'm going to
yes,
continue the 356 game. Is that okay?
go for it, man.
So I saw that Dave picked this and I was a little bit late. This car in my picture, this might be the world's best photography for Bring a Trailer.
Yep.
Yes.
This could literally be on like if you add like a little sepia to that, it could have been a period correct photograph
It's
from
gorgeous.
1960. I
Yeah.
would buy this car over all of the cars we just discussed. It's a one family owned 356A Roadster from 1959.
It's a convertible D.
Yeah.
And this car sold for all of the money and
All the
then
money.
some. It was like I got it right here, $322,000 plus fees. So you're at 340
340.
grand. If I had a stupid amount of money, I would have bought that car.
But
From those pictures alone, it sold me on the whole thing, and it
Yep.
sold me on this. I want to go back to 1959 or 1960 and live a simple life in the mountains or wherever in the world that was taken, and I want to be that person.
Yeah.
I
Get
have
over
never
it very
seen
quickly, though. Having driven the car, you'd get over it very
well,
quickly.
I actually I look after a B Roadster, which is almost a speedster, right? And honestly, I'd love a speedster as well, but putzing around in that car at low speeds is such a vibe. Like it's
Yep.
such an enjoyable experience. Like yes, you at any minute feel like you're gonna die if anything were to happen, but God, it's such a great experience to
Fear of
really be
fear of death.
transported back in time.
Fear of death definitely gives for an elevated experience. That's for
It
damn sure.
does.
But
I just
but
That's
here's the
true.
problem with old cars in general. Like it's easy to drive an old car and say, "Man, this thing sucks. The steering was all over the place. The brakes were all over the place." Blah blah blah. No, what sucks is the guy that restored it, or the guy before that that restored it, or the 10 times it's been restored and nobody knew what the hell they were doing. They didn't put it back together correctly. When you
Yep.
drive essentially an original version like what that is, that's been kept up, and you know how it was actually supposed to feel, assuming it's mechanically been kept up, you are going to have a 9 times out of 10 a completely
Well,
different experience.
Well, it's like we talked about Triumphs. I mean, my dad's TR3 is awesome. It is a transportation in time back to 1957, and I get in that car and it doesn't have it doesn't have synchromesh gears, so when you're going down you have to put it in second and then into first to get it to go. But it's such a tremendous experience. It's really a transportation in time. And my 914 needs a motor, but I feel the same way when I drive that car. I get a lot more pleasure out of driving old 914s and old 356s than I ever will in my 964.
Casey, a 914 with a screwed up motor is the vintage experience like it was when it was new.
Sure. Yeah, but
I mean,
mine only has like
that is
one and a
it.
quarter cylinders worth of compression.
Exactly.
So
So
it started
Paul-
with 50 horsepower. Now it's got like 6.
So Paul, you're next.
Well, just really quick on the 356. I looked at it too, and that photographer squeezed over 110 grand out of the buyer because Casey
100%.
was right. The photography was beautiful. It did exactly what it should. But I sent this car to a friend of mine who's an expert, Dirk Layer. He knows these cars. When you look on Classic, first of all, the average right now is 211,000 and it's got a down arrow, which means it's been going down. And you look, there's not a lot of comps, but when you look at the comps, that car was a non-numbers matching, red on tan, the least desirable color, where color is huge. When you looked at it, yes, it was one owner, and I know people love one owner, but one owner isn't always the end of the world. That car got, yeah, refurbished or like painted and done things. And it was, if you looked at it closely, it was a nice, what I would call survivor driver, not preservation, but lightly refurbished over the years. It probably is a really fundamentally good car. It's probably dry. It probably hasn't been hit, but it's not an oh my God car. That car is a $210,000 car on the best day. But yeah, like you said, Casey, the photography and the right room and the right audience, which this will help us segue to my cars, which is this 89 Carrera G50 Coupe that sold about a week and a half ago. And what's interesting about this car, it's an 89 G50 Coupe in silver with, linen interior. Let me get this.
Oh, if that had those sports seats in it, that car would be so great.
Dave, you were playing around with one of these, weren't you? Wasn't it you
yeah.
that posted on our WhatsApp group one of these?
Yeah.
And this is interesting. Came out of Florida, 17,000 miles, original paint, of course, dry ice to the end of the world. Beautiful car, linen interior. And what's interesting is my client bought it. In fact, my client was just foaming at the mouth when he saw we were getting this car. And he's like, let me know, because he had bought another blue car from me. He loves blue. He missed out on an 85 Prussian blue car that we had. That was spectacular. So he reaches out, he says, hey, I'm not interested in that because I just bought this thing. So I emailed him. I'm like, just want to know the inside psyche. And this kind of tells you this car, ready, brace yourself. Did you guys see this car close? Anyone?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did. I just can't. I mean, I tracked this because it went for a lot of money.
Casey, don't say any. I mean, Dave, don't say anything. Casey, Tim, 89 G50 Coupe, silver on linen, not sports seats, not a one owner, 17,000 miles, original paint, an exceptionally nice car. Very good preservation example. What do you think it sold for?
It's not an anniversary car.
Not an anniversary.
What's the price for getting it right? What's the price for getting it right?
You get a purse.
We'll call it a European carry-all.
Well, I have the spreadsheet open, so I see your notes, so I shouldn't be playing.
Shoot. Oh. Casey, did you see it?
So how many miles are on it?
17,000.
Oh,
that's
it checks a lot of boxes.
Right
160 grand, 150 grand.
Well, you're pretty close. Basically, almost 180 with fees.
That's a lot.
Which is a lot, but this goes and if you saw the G50s coming out after that, they didn't do as well. I reached out to him. I said, hey, just curious, and he has the money. Why did you know what the market is? He missed out on our 85 Carrera with 40,000 miles in Prussian blue that was spectacular, but it was not G50. He wanted a G50. He lives here in Southern California. We sold that car quietly and quickly for 150. He then says, I have had feelers out with 6 different people, including you, for a pristine low-mile G50 coupe for the last year. Sam Cabilio, Jerry Seinfeld's guy. He had ID'd one that I didn't pull the trigger on that sold for 157. A midnight blue tan 85 non G50, similar to the one that we have in New York. I investigated, told the dealer I didn't think it was worth it, and that dealer sold it for 200, supposedly. Because Pasadena has gotten so hot in the summers, I wanted a light interior. And as you know, silver is a classic Porsche color, and my favorite, my Macan GTS Commuter, is silver. My cap was 116, but in the heat of the moment on BAT,
It's
and
two
it just
drunk
goes
guys,
dot dot
two
dot.
drunk guys in a room.
No,
And
seriously,
but
you
it
have
was
your
it was
auctions. Have your auctions end at drink o'clock, whatever that is in the
yeah,
time zone
but
where
it
most
was
of the bidders are.
but it was, if you notice that, it was a guy who had the means, and he'd been looking for so long, and
He didn't care.
he didn't care. But the thing is, I've already had several people with G50s come to me going, here's my algorithm. And their car is a 70,000 mile repainted, ding on Carfax, red on tan. And I'm not trying to explain to them, like, my client would never even look at your car. Those are two separate buyers. So going on to the next car. So that car sold exceptionally well, and that's why I always tell people public auctions, private or in-person auctions, internet auctions, like less than 1% strike lightning when you really look at it. And it's this formula where something happens. Now, moving on to the other one I saw, which I think this one, it is a 1980 911 SC with a 3.2 motor, backdated, sold here in California, just closed last week. Well, it didn't close. It bid to 87,000 miles.
It's really good looking.
It is a cool looking car, and it's painted in what's called dark glacier blue paint, which this looks to me like pastel blue. It has red.
Slammed a little though, Paul. I mean, that's
There you go. And
Yeah.
you nailed it, Dave. When you look at this car, it has got a cool motor. I think it might even have a sticker and pass California smog. I don't know. It is a personal touch. I don't think it's bad looking, but the photos sucked for sure. It's stupidly slammed, and all the photos, this photo looked nice because you couldn't tell it was slammed, but this photo, kind of good picture. This photo, a stupid fiberglass S bumper. Look at the wheel fitment in the front. They didn't put spacers on it, but nice 3.2 motor. It bid to $87,000. I think this car needed to, do something with the wheel spacing, get the fender trim off of it. It didn't match the vibe. I don't know why there's fender trim on it. I think there is in one of the photos. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and raise the height. And I think this car should have been a 120, 130 car. I went through all the pictures. It looked pretty well built. So those are my two cars. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm surprised the blue car sold for that much, to be honest with you.
Well, the
Actually
blue
didn't
car
sell.
bid, it
Oh,
didn't.
it didn't sell.
Bid to
Right.
87,000.
Oh, well, I mean, 87 seems like good money for that thing based on,
What-
but from a making money perspective, Mr. Used Car Dealer, I mean, that would have been a good car to get and make right and put back for sale.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
could have
Dave
spent
knows-
10,
Dave knows-
10 grand
car.
on that thing and made 40.
100%.
Yeah.
Dave knows, looking at this stuff. This car, when you really get in the pictures, it's actually done pretty well.
Yeah.
It's good taste. I looked closely at the seats. They used nice materials. The interior wasn't fucked up.
Yeah.
It's just they made some poor
Get rid
design
of the,
decisions.
get
All
rid
the
of the
marketing
French headlights.
choices, right?
Get rid of
It's
the,
got
get rid,
it's got pop windows, which are super dope. That's great.
Yeah, and all the trims chrome. It's like they got to the 1 yard line and fumbled big time.
Huh.
Well, but again, there's an example. If someone would purchase that, if someone would say Dave or say someone like Paul or say someone like Casey would have direct messaged the seller on Bring a Trailer, probably can get a pretty good buy on the damn thing and make some money on it.
But here's now going back to what we talked about earlier. It's now got an anchor price of 87,000. Yes, it didn't sell, but how many buyers that call me that go, "Yeah, I saw that on Bring a Trailer. It sold for 50,000."
Yeah, you're
And I'll
right.
look at it and I'll go, "No, it bid. It didn't sell." He goes, "Well, two people in the room, that's what they thought it was worth." So I think this car, even if it's fixed right, might be doomed.
So let me ask you
You'd
a
have to
question.
change it a bunch. You'd
Yeah.
have to modify. You'd have to do some things that make that car look really different, and then probably pick another venue to try to sell it. Some
But
other.
then, but it's just one VIN Google. You just
Yeah,
put the VIN
yeah,
number and
true.
you're there.
You don't even have to
Thank
Google anymore.
you.
Just use
Thank you,
AI.
classic.com.
Yeah. Well, so a couple things. First of all, try to get Dirk on the podcast because without a doubt, that guy's the expert of experts.
And you've met him before, I assume?
You connected me with him when
Yes.
when I didn't want to take delivery of our 67S after it was done with restoration, and he made a shit list, which frankly made Marco
That's
and his
right.
dad not like me for quite a while because the
Well,
list was long.
I've known Dirk for over 20 years. He came by the hospital and we talked. He is an acquired taste, and we joke over the years. I have picked up his salty traits and he's actually softened. He's becoming more like me, which is probably not wrong. But I refer, like with your issue, like Dirk is right. What people don't realize when you go to Lufka Cult and you see those super, super special cars at Lufka Cult, 90% of them are coming from Dirk's clients. Dirk's coordinating them. He's in the background. He's getting in there. He never asks for recognition. So when I have a client that calls me that wants to spend money on something special, like for instance, Tim, if you talked to him and said, I want a Carrera GS, four cam, and I can get it for 400, he will laugh at your face because he knows the players involved and he knows what it takes. Because for him, you
Well, remember,
buy the best.
in my defense, I didn't say it. I am only
I
passing
know.
on to you, who
I know.
arguably one of the biggest experts of 4 cam 356s in the
Yes.
world told me. Now,
Yes.
it's possible, I suppose, that I heard wrong, but I didn't. Now, I have another question for you guys, all three of you. These dry ice, like, so for example, first of all, it's always funny when you're reading comments on BAT. You can always tell how old somebody is based on whether or not, when they ask a question like, what's all that yellow shit underneath the car? Because they don't know what Cosmoline is. But other than this, would you dry ice a Cosmoline, an 80s car just to make it look better in pictures, given the fact that you're now exposing all those metal bits and bobs to corrosion? Dave, you first.
I would not take off the Cosmoline. I would set the dry ice settings to get rid of all the dirt, but leave the Cosmoline. And if in fact I disturb too much of it, I would actually reapply it. Because
100%.
because you
Yep.
want to have that originality, first of all. You want the cleanliness because that absolute those undercarriage shots with the car looking like that, that's money for sure. You're going to spend $3,000 to get that thing dry ice blasted underneath. But if you go too strong with it, then you're going to end up looking like it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look authentic. So put some of that Cosmoline back on. That's what I
What
would
do you
do.
think, Kate? Well, I'll suggest a trend is going to be is to install Cosmoline on cars that are freshly restored because that's going to become more desirable because it's going to make it look authentic. But Casey, what do you think? Cosmoline or no Cosmoline on a car from that vintage?
So I look after a 1,200 mile 89 Speedster. It's white with red interior and a blue top. Beautiful car. Has the most Cosmoline I've ever seen under any car. And because it's always in the air, because I don't put many miles on that one. That one's more of a warm up in place kind of thing. It's a little bit gross to look at, especially when you see how it originally came, because it's still, you can still move it around with your fingers. It's like it's never
That's
dried.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an absolute time capsule of a car. There are places where I think it is necessary. There's a shop near Dave called Merit. That is a really, really great guys. I've messaged them a bunch because I need some work done on my Land Cruiser, and I'll likely send it down there when the time comes. I don't like to blast everything off. I've looked at some vehicles that have sold through Canepa, and they blast off everything off the bottom of the car from what I have perceived from the invoices and when I've seen the bottoms of the cars. I like stuff that looks more original. I like stuff that is a little bit, as it came from the factory, as it was intended. So I would agree with Dave. Just dial it back so really you're just getting the crud off, but leaving as much of the originality as possible.
We're remiss in not letting younger folks know. Cosmoline is basically this oily goop that they stuck up. I think it was made by a company called Worth or something.
It's
Sprayed.
paraffin
Yeah.
based,
There you
like a
go. And
wax.
it basically covered everything underside of the car. And it was for arguably the long boat ride over from the motherland. So the salt air didn't eat the car alive. So, Paul, what do you think? Cosmoline or no
You know,
Cosmoline? You don't dry ice your cars, do you?
No, so if you look at our videos on Instagram, we will steam clean them. which is a fraction of the cost. Like to do a full car properly, you start at $2,000 to dry ice and it goes up to maybe $3,000. There's some ways we can do just the engine and you can get it down to $1,500. We spend on average $300 to steam clean them, which gets us 80% of the way there. Now, this car here, the one that my friend bought for $180,000, if it wasn't dry iced, he probably wouldn't have bought it. It was part of the whole sales package. Now, I wish someone would do like 000 is the perfect platform to do a deep dive on this because I would love to know if you bought a German spec car in Germany, did it have this Cosmoline paraffin substance? Like you mentioned, it was for the boat ride over. Now, I think in some cases it's done a really good job, especially for East Coast cars, to preserve it. Now, I remember distinctly in the early, let's see, would have been mid 80s. My dad and I went to Mercedes North America Delivery Center, which was in Buena Park near Knott's Berry Farm. So all the Mercedes Benz in the 80s coming off the boat would go directly to this place. And we saw literally snaking around this entire huge property. This was probably a 300-yard, it looked like a hazmat thing. Imagine a dryer vent big enough for a car to go through. You know, this sort of dryer vent looking thing that wrapped about 300 yards around the building and it had ramps. These cars would come in. Now, you know how when they deliver cars, they've got like paper and bags and all this weird shit around? These cars didn't have that. The entire car, windows, everything was covered in Cosmoline.
See, I didn't know that. Did you guys know that?
Well, it's like it might be like those Jaguars that I was talking to Paul about before, where they had it was a responsibility of the dealership to remove the Cosmoline from the paint.
But
Yes.
Casey, did Casey and Dave, did you guys know they covered the entire car? I thought they only did the underside.
I got a BMW that way in the early 90s.
Wow,
So
that's cool.
now I don't
Covered
know
all
if
over the
Porsche
place
did.
with it.
I never saw Porsche. So what was wild is these cars would drive on the ramp. They're maybe like 2 feet off the air. They're driving slowly, like almost a conveyor belt. And there is a 360 degrees hot steam water thing shooting this car. And it's basically steam water melting off the paraffin. And it takes 300 yards of going through that. And it comes out pretty sparkling clean. Of course, it goes to the shop and they're going to have to detail it and they do stuff to get the rest of it off. But in the engine, they don't do any more thing. And you can imagine there's a lot more left on the engine. And my dad had a 79 300 diesel, and sure enough, it had Cosmoline on there. So in going back to your answer, I believe this product was not supposed to stay on the car. I believe it was supposed to come off the car based on just my anecdotal knowledge. In the case of a car like Casey's, where it's super low mile and it's preservation, leave it on. What I hate most is they see this Cosmoline, and it could be a low mileage car, but it's, as you mentioned, it's a soft paraffin gooey thing. And guess what? It gets oil on it. And most of the time you look at it and it's not amber, it's not this honey color, which it should be. It is gross black snot. And why have that on there? So in one case, yes, keep it on. And by the way, most people don't realize if you get a really good like house steamer, you can take a lot of that off yourself. You don't have to dry ice it, and it's not as tedious. And that's what we do. We make it a little more presentable. But in my case, unless it's a special car, get that shit off there.
Well, let's start wrapping because I think we've broken a record for yammering. So we'll end on a Porsche high note, and if you guys don't mind sitting through and I'll make it quick. I've been watching out of curiosity mostly, and you guys can see in the notes the Porsche, these latest, the GT3 market, this ST market, and the rest of it. And these STs, as you guys might remember, are coming off lease. There were 12-month leases, right, Casey? You had to lease them for 12 months from Porsche.
Yeah, if you weren't a 918 buyer.
Right. So that's right. And so I heard, and I've been told that those are all coming off lease in the next like 2 to 3 months. So what's going to happen to the market? But if you look at right now, for example, the ST is about to come off lease. What will be the price spread between an ST? And I know it's not an exact comp. There's more differences between, say, a 911R than a 911 Touring from the same 991 generation. But if you were to compare the difference in price between an ST right now and a 992 Touring, even a .2 Touring, right? the price difference is extraordinary. Double, it's 2x basically. So do you guys think that spread will remain? And what do you think about that? That market undulation, is it just due to scarcity because they're not enough actively for sale? What do you think,
Yes.
Dave?
I think the price differential for a while will maintain, and then obviously, just like anything, Tim, supply and demand, it's going to shrink a little bit, right? I think right now it's still hot, hot, hot. So if you've got one and you're going to move it, now's the time to move it. But as these more and more of these cars, what was it, like 1,963 total of those, I think, that were built. It's still a scarcity thing, and you can get a lot more GT3, a lot more GT3 Touring. I still think that price is going to come down. If you want out, you better get out now. That's my opinion.
And I wonder if one of these new special edition Porsches that they're inevitably going to come out is going to be an ST Lite, or even maybe something more enhanced than an ST, just because they need to make money. Casey, what do you think? Do you think the price difference will remain?
I think it'll, I mean, you could see it, what happened. The first Shore Blue one on Bring a Trailer sold for 800.
Yeah.
The second one no sailed at 702. And then basically a couple more trickled in that were like paint to sample. Like there was a Fjord green one, I think, on P Car Market.
Yep.
But I mean, they're still in the 650 range. I mean, there's going to be a 200 to $250,000 delta between it and a Touring eventually.
What's the price difference between a 16 911R and say, for example, 991.2 Touring? Do you guys know?
Ours are really ours and speedsters are on the going way up. I'm not sure if you paid attention to that. You probably did, Tim. But my client just sold his green one for too little, and it went in the upper fours and bought the signal yellow one that Broad Arrow was auctioning off.
We're talking
with 80,
speedsters now here, not
80 miles. So all of those cars were 400 grand for a really long time, and
like
now
3 years.
they are going up. Ours are going to be doing the same thing. To get an interesting R, I mean, those cars are 500 plus. If it's a paint to sample car, or a car like the one I look after has like $80,000 worth of CXX options on it. That's $700,000, $800,000 car.
What do you think, Paul?
I just looked up on classic.com. There are 32 STs on the market right now.
That's globally though, right?
Globally, but still
that's a lot.
That's a lot. And I think we have data that I bet you, if you look at it and really do some math on it, shows you what happens. It starts with a 97.2 Carrera, RS 4.0. Then you have the 911R. Then you have the Sport Classic. Sport Classic, I think, is the one that's going to get lost in all this. It's just too soon to the ST. But I would say you look at 911R and RS 4.0, and those two cars come out, no one, big demand, then no one cares, and then it's going to take time. And I would say if you have an ST and they're all, like you said, coming off lease, I think you're keeping that car, because I think right now the only motivation to sell it, there's too many on the market, is what's it going to cost to get the new next greatest thing. And if a client called me and said, what do you do? I said, if you got someone who'll pay 700 and you're happy with that, or whatever price and you're happy, either sell it now or keep it 10 years. I think at 10 years, this is a good hold for a 10-year car.
Well, good hold for the sake of a car, but good hold compared to if you put the 700 grand in the S&P 500.
You're right.
Not a good hold.
Not a good hold. In the end, as I always tell my clients, please don't use the I word. It's not an investment.
That's right. Well, you know what? You guys gave me a lot of great ideas for the spreadsheet. So maybe we're going to work on the perfect 5-car Porsche collection. You can go.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, you're going to win on that one. It's the reason you like it. So maybe we can do the modern cars. What do you guys think? So help me define it. And this way the fans and the listeners and the viewers will know what to look forward to. Perfect 5-car collection. Help us build our lists. Message us on Instagram. But you guys want to put it like a back date from what year forward? What do you guys think?
I think we should do all of it.
No, it's because you're going to be cranking around the 1950s. I'm going to pick weird stuff that you guys aren't going to like.
If we're talking, when I look at Porsche, it's 1999 and newer, and that's new Porsche.
Let's do water. How about we just do water cooled?
Water cooled Porsche, and then you got to pick a price cap.
Yeah, screw that.
Okay. It's the perfect
five
selection,
GT1 street versions.
Oh shit! See, Casey's going to cheat. So you're right. We have to put a price cap.
Yeah, we do.
All right. So what's the price?
300,000.
MSRP or market?
Market.
I think you should do 5 million.
Of course
Five
you do.
cars, five
Oh no,
cars.
okay. All right, smart asses. Here's what we'll do. Let's
a-
put a total cap on how
It's
much
a
money you
cap.
can spend.
It's
Yeah,
like
total
a
cap.
team.
Your Aunt Betty just kicked the bucket and she said you can inherit X amount of money, but you have to spend it all on Porsches and they have to be water cooled. So what's the amount of money that Betty just left for
Tim,
you?
just pick a number. We're not going to agree.
500,000. I think we have to work at it because I think you have to look at like, I think what the listeners and viewers are looking at is like 500,000. They might get that. They might get that in inheritance. And what are you going to build with that? Like you're going to have to make
I
some
agree
compromise.
but are you guys accepting 500 grand?
It's going to be tough, but yeah,
I'm
we'll
good.
do it.
Are we
I'll
gonna
go
are
with
we gonna
that.
do 5 cars or do you now want to limit it to 3 since Paul put us on a budget?
Well, let's do 3 because 5's going to take us a lot longer.
He's right. Casey's right. It'll take us. I'll take up the whole show with frickin' 5.
And no one can cheat and just pick one car. I'm mostly talking to myself. No one can cheat and just pick one car for 500 grand.
Yeah.
One car.
He'll have
and
one
2
car, then
watches.
he'll have 2, 981 boxers and call it a day.
And the budget will be blown by 2.
Well, so hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast today. We enjoyed doing the podcast, probably too much. This podcast for me has become a great escape because now I can watch YouTube car videos guilt-free. And when my daughter looks over my shoulder trying to bust me for screwing around watching car videos, I rationalized and explained to her, well, Dad is an automotive journalist now. And so he's just doing his homework. Now go do your homework and leave me alone so I can watch more videos. So thank you for... She's not listening. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. And I'm sorry we didn't get to viewer comments and listens. There were some comments and Instagram and questions. There were some great questions. I promise you'll get to them. Matter of fact, we'll get to them first on next week's podcast. We are getting such great fan feedback. It's really wonderful. And you guys are calling us out when we say something wrong and you're giving us information to make our jib jab better. I totally and completely love that you're taking the time to do that. Message us over on Instagram if there's something you like, something you didn't like, whatever. Help us make this so that it is the #1 automotive podcast for obviously our little niche, which is mostly Porsche and sports car fans. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to this week's Full Throttle Talk. And thank you guys. And let's just, if you guys have time, let's have a 5-minute meeting. But in the meantime, have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you guys next week.